William Shakespeare is one of the most famous authors on the world stage, and the success of his works confirms his greatness. In our imagery, when we think about a love story, we immediately remember two timeless lovers, Romeo and Juliet. Strange though may it seem, the writer and the theatre director coming from Stratford-upon-Avon was not the first author to put down in words a story telling about an impossible love. As a matter of fact, Shakespeare drew inspiration from an Italian author, Masuccio da Salerno, who lived in the 15th century. He wrote about the love story between Mariotto and Ganozza, who went down in history under the name of Gli Amanti Senesi, Siena's lovers. During the 16th century, Luigi da Porto wrote a similar tale, but the new setting of the story was Verona. Thanks to another Italian author, Matteo Bondello, the story became popular in England. Shakespeare not only took inspiration from Bondello's work, but he modified it, offering us an actual literature masterpiece. In fact, he managed to blend both tragic and comic aspects together. On the one hand, the work is a tragedy, as ill luck dooms the lovers to die. On the other hand, it is a comedy, as Mercutio, Romeo's best friend, and Juliet's wet nurse are two grotesque characters. This story is a cross-section of Shakespeare's society. As a matter of fact, the hatred between the Montagues and the Capulets enshrines both the religious wars and blood feuds of the Elizabeth age. Shakespeare not only mastered different styles, but also different registers in a single masterpiece. Indeed, he adopted both coarseness and lyricisms in compliance with the Renaissance and the Neoplatonic tradition. Throughout centuries, the story of the bud has been a source of inspiration for both ballet and cinema. This play was staged for the very first time in a Czechoslovakia's theatre on the 30th of December 1938. After 2 years, it was shown at the Mariinsky Theatre in St. Petersburg. World-class artists have always danced in golden theaters by respecting the choreography of Lavrosky and Macmillan. Two illustrious composers such as Prokofiev and Tchaikovsky have enriched the composition with their music. Albeit the whole show faithfully traces to the original one, the choreographers mentioned above divided this masterpiece in 3 acts, that is to say, 3 hours. One of the most talented artists who has interpreted the role of Juliet has been the Italian dancer Alessandra Ferri. The Italian director Franco Zeffirelli offered the most accurate movie version of Romeo and Juliet in 1968. Talking about the movie version dating back to 1996 and signed by the Australian director Baz Luhrmann, we can find many differences compared to the original work of Shakespeare. As a result, it was considered a freely and modern version for many reasons. First of all, the original title, Romeo and Juliet, was converted in Romeo plus Juliet, which evokes the mural paintings of big cities. Moreover, the story is not set anymore in Verona, but in a major Los Angeles suburb named Verona Beach. The Montagues and the Capulets are not two noble families, but two rich business clans of Los Angeles Upper Side. Not to mention the fact that Lord and Lady Montague and Lord and Lady Capulet were given first names, as opposed to the Shakespeare original, where their first names are never mentioned. Mantua, where Romeo is banished for having killed Juliet's cousin Tybalt, is not an actual city but an arid outpost. At the masked party organized by the Capulets, Romeo and Mercutio, in the movie version, disguise themselves as a knight and a woman respectively, whereas they cloak themselves as jesters in the original story. Luhrmann has added modernity to the original masterpiece by replacing swords and knives with guns. As a matter of fact, Juliet fires herself once she discovers that Romeo is died, while in both Ballet and Shakespeare's work, she fatally stabs herself. Furthermore, in the final scene, which takes place in the Capulet's crypt, there is not Paris in the movie version. By contrast, Paris and Romeo fight in the crypt until the death of the Count. Although the play was spurned with severe critics, I firmly believe that Luhrmann's goal was to modernize a 16th century story. In this way, he has underlined that even in a modern civilization, true love can breach the barriers and the limits of death. The same idea of eternity is embodied by both Ballet and Shakespeare himself. On the one hand, ballet is not influenced by temporary trends and fashions, but it is a timeless form of art. On the other hand, Shakespeare was obsessed with the passage of time, but he managed to defeat his enemy through the force and the beauty of his poetry, which is still read and loved worldwide.